Alright, alright. What's really going on? Bitcoin, cryptocurrency. Today, going to be taking a look at Cardano, ADA. Going to be taking a look at some of these key technical aspects of price action moving forward. Going to be assessing some of the pivotal areas of support and resistance I believe we're going to be interacting with in a very near future here. Let me know in the comments down below. Are you bullish? Are you bearish? Do you trade? Do you hold? Or do you let the price action unfold? What are you doing with your bag? If you have one, you accumulate at these levels, you bullish on price action, do you think you found support and we're likely to rally through all this significant resistance overhead into the dollar range, multi-dollar range that Cardano just came from? Or are you bearish on price action? Do you think there's more downside ahead of us, more sideways accumulation, and we're heading to sub $1.50 straight to zero? What are your thoughts on the direction of price action moving forward? Now jumping right into it, to kind of recap price action that has interacted with this ascending trend line from a few months now, realistically, since kind of last year. We have the COVID crash just in the middle of March there. We have price action interacting with this ascending trend line, both as support and resistance kind of over the months, in addition to very critical horizontal levels. A more relevant range of price action, I believe, is between the kind of beginning of January of this year. We have price action getting bullish enough to rally up to that ascending trend line, interacting with it multiple times as resistance before finding the strength and momentum to get above it again. On the kind of beginning of February, we rallied into this very significant range of sideways that price action entered for a period of kind of weeks here. I believe between the kind of end of February of this year into the beginning of May, we have price action trading in a very critical sideways manner between, I do believe, resistance found around $1 and kind of 48 cents, and support found near kind of like the $1 level up to like 107 and down to kind of like 93 cents. I do believe that was a significant support zone that we interacted with during this sideways while we were building the bullish buy pressure to break significant resistance near kind of like just under $1.50. A psychological kind of round level that I do believe there was a lot of sell pressure and a lot of traders taking profit at. And so after multiple rejections during this very volatile range of fundamental buy pressure but very high technical sell pressure, we got a final kind of break upward into that dollar plus range, $1.50 almost kind of thing. The euphoric swing highs that were coming from back above that ascending trend line. I know the demand for Cardano was very high and still is, and so we were looking quite bullish, although that abrupt change in momentum of price action on the 19th of May sent us plummeting all the way from that $2 range into kind of like just above $1 there, $1.01. And so Cardano was still quite bullish fundamentally, so we were bought up very quickly, though the sell pressure increased, and we inevitably kind of like broke downward here, and we see price action trying to find support for what appears to be the kind of final kind of like couple weeks here between the 8th of June of this year and what appears to be the sort of like 20th of June. Price action eventually broke downward to interact with this lower zone here near $1 again, but we were still bullish enough to bounce back upward. We are now interacting with that upper zone as resistance, and so we'll kind of have to see just how bearish this rejection is off of this very significant range here, as we do have kind of three sort of other very significant rejections that sent us plummeting down to this lower zone sort of every time. So we could very well have a a bearish example of price action coming down to this range and perhaps like bouncing. That would be kind of more bullish midterm. And support, I do believe support could be found down at these levels, although we could be bearish enough to plow through it and perhaps interact with some of these lows below $1. So lots going on for Cardano. New perspective comes into play when we consider EngineeringRobo along with the FIBA Bugatti, FIBA Lamborghini, FIBA Zucchini lines of Illuminati. We can see new perspective kind of come into play here. We do have some support present at the 0.5 Fibonacci level. $1.24 is going to be potential support here. If we can hold, that would be quite bullish in the short term perhaps, although if a lot of the sell pressure is abundant enough and the resistance off of this kind of upper zone near kind of $1.50 there was like significant, we could very well plow through it and perhaps interact with this 200 daily moving average again, which would be another level of significant support. Say we are bearish enough to fail to hold the 200 daily moving average and we enter into this lower zone near $1 and we fall all the way down to the bottom. I do believe our last kind of hope for very significant support would be at the 0.382 FIBA Zucchini line at 95 cents. And so there does seem to be some room for downside to still be bullish and perhaps long term here. Although we are quite overbought and there is very high sell pressure present, and I believe there has been ever since we've entered this range here. Although the overall fundamental demand for Cardano is quite high still, so there's definitely a lot of kind of key factors coming into play. A lot of high buy and sell pressure causing this very volatile sideways price action. EngineeringRobo still currently bearish at the moment, so we could have some perhaps short-term downside, although we still have hope long-term if we stay above this 200 daily moving average. Now, new perspective comes into when we consider Cardano against Bitcoin. We can see price action interacting with this very critical range of sideways. I do believe support could be eventually found at 3,093 Satoshi if we are bearish enough to kind of plummet to those levels. This potential resistance is present, I believe, near the previous kind of like swing high there back at the 16th of May, near kind of like 5049 Satoshi. If we break that level, more resistance will be present, I do believe, around the 5294 Satoshi level. And so lots of volatile sideways against the price of Bitcoin, looking a tad bullish in my opinion. But new perspective comes into play when we consider the Fibba zucchini lines of Illuminati. In addition to EngineeringRobo's buy and sell suggestions, we have that sell for still present against the price of Bitcoin, suggesting some downside potential, some sell pressure still, or perhaps some prolonged sideways. We do have resistance present as well near the 0.786 Fibba zucchini line. 4056 Satoshi is going to be perhaps significant resistance enough to kind of keep us kind of like downward here for a bit, although we do have some more bullish support, I do believe, around the 0.618 line there. 3277 Satoshi is going to be another bullish level that we could bounce off of before this potential support around 3092. And so, say we fail to hold those levels, we are still well above the 200 daily moving average, so we could very well be bearish enough against the price of Bitcoin to kind of plummet to these lows here. So we fail to hold the 0.618, say we fail to hold the 3093 level there, we could interact with potential significant support, I do believe, between a very significant range above the 0.382 Fibonacci line there, around 2179 Satoshi, all the way up to these the high of this range around the 0.5 Fibonacci line at 2723 Satoshi. And so why I do believe this will be significant is because I do, at the moment, we will have the 200 daily moving average present, in which I will believe that will be kind of present in this range for a few days here still. We will have potential significant support in this zone between 2342 Satoshi and under 2461 Satoshi, and just below the 0.382 Fibonacci level is my support line at 2119 Satoshi. And so we do have a lot of room kind of for downside to still be bullish in the long term. Perhaps another retest of the 200 daily moving average is necessary before the uptrend can continue, although we could very well stay quite sideways against the price of Bitcoin, and the 200 daily moving average could come back up to price action and give us a much more bullish kind of like blast off into higher highs and more euphoric levels, or we could give into the sell pressure and come down to it for some interaction in the short term. Lots going on for Cardano against Bitcoin, but now when we consider Bitcoin against USDT, we can see new perspective come into play. We have price action interacting with the ever so critical range between potential support around 32,000 in addition to resistance around 34,300. This range is going to be very crucial moving forward. Price action, I do believe, is quite fundamentally bullish to be bought up during all this very high, perhaps technical sell pressure present, in addition to EngineeringRobo being kind of like bearish still since the middle of May of this year. We have price action plummeting all the way to this to and below this 200 daily moving average from some very euphoric all-time highs at the moment, plummeting 50-some% downward all the way to around 32k. We have price action bouncing ever so aggressively sideways, coming up to the 200 daily moving average, getting rejected off of it. So there's lots of reasons to be fearful, uncertain, and doubtful of the direction of price action in the moment. Personally, overall, I'm fundamentally long-term quite bullish still. I do believe these are some great levels to be accumulating. More downside would be more bullish for Bitcoin in the long term, and so perhaps this is what's necessary for 6 figures for the uptrend to continue. We've been very bullish in a very short amount of time, relatively, since this time last year and just before. So perhaps some more sideways, or like I said, downside or levels to accumulate perhaps are necessary for the uptrend to continue. I can still be bullish on price action if we find levels interacting with the 0.382 Fibonacci line at 27K. Sub 30K are still some bullish targets to be buying in. That could be very jarring for perhaps traders though, and that could send price action plummeting to these very critical lows that we came from not too long ago, near perhaps support found around 19K or the 0.236 level, 18,200. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for hearing my analysis. Try EngineeringRobo free with the link in the description. Subscribe here on YouTube. Check out all the other social media down below. Let me know your thoughts on price action moving forward. Are you bullish? Are you accumulating at these levels? Have we found support? Is all-time highs in 6 figures around the corner, or is there more downside ahead? Let me know your thoughts down below. Thank you for tuning in, and tune in for the next one.